Hello there, this is Steve from Steve's Tech Tube. In this video, I'm going to show you how I managed to live stream a TP-Link Tapo C211 camera. It's a security camera that I've started to use a little bit, and I want to show you how I was able to live stream from a balcony at the Florida condo that I was staying in a couple weeks ago. And even though I didn't have administrator rights to the router, at the condo, I was able to get this to work. Now, if you've ever run into a situation where you've had 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, you'll know, you can look back at some of my previous videos on the Tapo C211, but it only supports 2.4 gigahertz. It does not support 5 gigahertz. But I was able to get around that. What I did is I brought my own router. So I'll show you that here in a second. So here's the situation I had. The condo's Wi-Fi only supported 5 gigahertz, and the Tapo C211 camera only supports 2.4 gigahertz. So I didn't have it, and also I didn't have the administrator password to log in to the router that was at the condo and forward ports. You may want to go back and review my video about port forwarding regarding this camera. You need to be able to open up a port in the router, which is typically port 554. And I'll put a link somewhere here in the notes. You may check the notes on the video where I show how to do that. But in this case, I couldn't open a port because I didn't have administrative rights to the router. So it meant I couldn't connect the camera and I couldn't stream it directly. But I found a workaround, and that's what I want to go over today. All right, so to get around this, I used my GL.iNet. It's a GL-AR300M16. I'll put a link to that particular router. Other ones may work. This is the one that worked for me, and it's a mini smart router. So what I did is I connected that router to the condo Wi-Fi, and I created my own 2.4 gigahertz network for the Tapo C211 to connect to. It basically acted as a bridge that gave me full control over my own mini network. So that's kind of how that got started. Now, I know one thing that some people that are familiar with the C211 camera might be asking. It's like, well, how did you do this using the Tapo app? Because if you're familiar with the Tapo app for this camera, it's Android only. Now, there may be a version for Apple for the iPhone, but it's basically meant to be used in a mobile device. So in my case, the Tapo app was Android only. I had to use Bluestacks. And again, I'll put information in the notes about Bluestacks. But Bluestacks is an Android emulator that runs on a Windows computer. And it allowed me to run the Tapo app for the camera right on my laptop so I could view the live feed coming from my camera that was on the balcony. But there still was another catch. The app would time out after a few minutes and without any interaction. So if I wasn't clicking on it, moving the camera, panning it, so I had to add something else to the mix on my Windows computer. I had to use an auto clicker app that performed a quick left click every few minutes to keep the app active. All right, and finally, I captured the Bluestacks window used inside of OBS Studio. And I've talked a little bit about OBS Studio and how I like to use that for streaming to YouTube. So I was able to stream it live to my YouTube channel by capturing that Bluestacks window and bringing it into OBS Studio, which I'm going to go over. I've got some notes on how that worked. So that's how I was able to share the balcony view directly from the Tapo C211 without ever logging in to the condo's router and forwarding any ports, doing anything to that router. All right, we are looking at the little mini home router here, the GL.iNet 300M. All right, and what's the last component of this thing? I'll tell you what, this is the hardest part. The hardest part of this is that I need to run an auto clicker, believe it or not. I'm going to set it up for 3 minutes, 30 seconds, because what I've noticed is this times out. So I'm going to set up the auto clicker, 3 minutes, 30 seconds. We're going to hit start, and we're going to go back to Bluestacks, and I'm going to put the cursor kind of down in the corner, leave it on the screen, because if you don't maintain an active interaction using Bluestacks with this Tapo, I'm not sure what's going on. If Tapo, it doesn't seem to do that on my phone, I don't believe, although I've never tried to view my camera for more than 5 minutes on my phone. But what happens is it will drop out and say, do you want to continue? And I have to keep clicking that button every 5 minutes. Using the auto clicker prevents that from happening. So we are going to leave this up and we'll get back. All right, so first of all, let's look at OBS Studio. This is where it gets a little tricky when I want to record. Basically, I'm looking to record from Bluestacks. I'm running Bluestacks because the TP-Link Tapo software needs to run on that. Now, I basically have it always set for capture a specific window. It would be the Bluestacks app player. Now, where I run into issues sometimes is this little check mark here. It's wanting to always display the add pane off on the left. And I haven't really figured out exactly how to keep this working all the time. I've alternate clicking on, clicking off to get this to work. And as you can see now, I haven't even started streaming yet. And I've got the ads. We can switch over to Bluestacks real quick. Let's shut down OBS. You can see here's Bluestacks. There's two panes here. There's this ad pane that runs on the left, and then I've actually got Bluestacks running here. And what I did is I installed the Tapo app. You remember, if you need some info on Bluestacks, I'll try to provide that. But Bluestacks App Player is an emulator for an Android phone because there is no Windows app for the Tapo cameras. But what I've done here, and I'll explain in a lot more detail, but I'm staying in a condo, so I don't have administrative rights on the router, so I can't forward ports 554. You're going to want to go back and perhaps look at some of my earlier videos on the Tapo C211 camera, where I went into some detail about port forwarding, RTSP, which is the real-time streaming protocol, and so on. The best way to go about streaming live is to port forward port 554 and do that through your router. But of course, when you're staying in a condo that belongs to somebody else, you can't do that. You don't have admin rights. So what I'm actually doing is, oh, and I didn't mention also that that router uses a I didn't mention that that router is only good for 5 gigahertz. It does not run on the 2.4 gigahertz. So that is definitely a problem. I needed to get 2.4 gigahertz because unfortunately that is all that the Tapo C211 runs on. And that's kind of a pain. Honestly, it's a big pain. So I have this little GL.iNet home router that does provide 2.4 gigahertz. So I hooked up a cable, and I'll show what that looks like. But I've got an Ethernet cable connected to the condo router, and then I have my little home router attached to it. And it's just a simple GL.iNet device. I didn't even bother to set it up very well. I'm just using the default information so that I can connect the camera to it. And you can see I can double click here on the camera. I'm calling it Florida. I can go up and look at the device info. And as you can see here, the device info
is their Wi-Fi network is this default AR GL-AR300M, and that's all the information on it. But anyhow, I get it up on the screen, but then I need to get OBS Studio to recognize it, and this is where it gets to be a little tricky. I don't, I'm recording Bluestacks, and this is where it gets. It doesn't always want to grab the right window. Now there it did briefly, and it goes away. It's very flaky on how this works. I'm going to try again. I've had this work for hours at a time. Now, if somebody knows a workaround or has an answer to this, I'd love to hear it because what I'm finding out is that this stream works sometimes, but then it will drop out.
So if you'd actually like to see the results of the live stream that I did a couple weeks back, I've linked those below. There's several of them. I've got one for each day. I've got several days that I performed this and put those videos up. So I've linked them below along with my earlier videos on the camera. I have a video talking about setting up the Tapo C211 from TP-Link and how to use RTSP, which is the real-time streaming protocol. Now, in this case, I couldn't do it. And I also have another video configuring OBS Studio for live broadcast using this particular camera. So hopefully that's going to be helpful. And this was kind of a strange situation, but I managed to find a workaround for it, and just thought I would share some of those notes with you guys. So if you ever get stuck in a situation like this, you can still manage to put out a live stream. And as you're going to see by looking at some of the feeds, and as I show in the OBS Studio setup, it wasn't super straightforward, and sometimes OBS Studio had some issues capturing the windows out of Bluestacks. But again, I appreciate if you stuck around this long. Thanks for watching. If this helped you solve a similar problem, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe for more tech tips, and check out my upcoming videos on portable routers and camera streaming setups. We'll have more information as time goes on. So thanks again. Have a great day.